I am not gonna let you divorce him. Never. Yeah, Mom's right. I can't even walk.
That's what my mother-in-law and my husband told me. I married my husband Aiden because I loved him. Even though we are no longer lovers, I still love him dearly as a family. My mother-in-law was strict with me in some ways, but she never said anything unreasonable. My husband's always defended me. Then one day, he had a car accident. It was a big accident, and he didn't regain consciousness. While I was busy visiting my husband and dealing with the accident, I checked the driver recorder. When I saw the footage, I was astonished. I knew I could never forgive my husband. Everything that had happened seems to be a lie. When he regained consciousness, and he was wheelchair-bound, I said goodbye to him. My name is Hazel, a 35-years-old housewife. My husband Aiden and I got married 2 years ago. I was depressed for a long time because my ex-boyfriend, who had promised to marry me, dumped me. I met my husband at a party because my friends were worried about me and took me there. To marry my ex-boyfriend, I started working as a temp instead of getting a full-time job after graduating from college. My ex-boyfriend was a very kind man, and I thought I could build a peaceful family with him. But one day, he suddenly told me that he had fallen in love with a girl in the same class and broke up with me. He said he would pay me alimony for breaking off the engagement, but I refused and ran away from the house I was living with him. My husband was the opposite of my ex-husband. When he arrived at the party, when my friends took me for a drink,
Hazel, right? I'm Aiden. Your friend told me you went through a tough time.
He asked me right away. My friend had told him that I was not doing well. I'd been afraid to get involved with people since my ex betrayed me. It's been a while since I've been out to a party like this.
That's awesome. Here is to taking the first step. I know it's like to be cheated on. I had the same experience, you know. But it's a waste of time to stay depressed. Let's just enjoy today. My heart, which had been heavy for a long time, felt a little lighter. That day, we had a lot of alcohol and a lot of fun. My husband and I exchanged the contact information. The next day, he contacted me and we decided to go out for dinner. While talking to him, I could forget the events of the day my ex-boyfriend dumped me that used to be always in my mind. After seeing Aiden for a while, before I knew it, I was no longer reminded of my ex-boyfriend, even when I was alone. I'm happy to see you getting better day by day. And I'm going to keep making you happier, you know? Let's stay together, Hazel. I will never betray you. When I heard these words, I knew I could trust him. We officially started dating. Every day was happy and fulfilling. Even though he was the same age as me, my husband was very dependable. When I had a bad day at work, he cheered me up like he did when we first met. My friends were surprised to see that I had become a different person from the one who had been depressed until a few months ago. After a year of dating, he proposed to me and we decided to get married. I was so happy to be able to marry to a person that I loved so much. When we went to my in-laws' house to say hello, I was so nervous that I couldn't stop sweating. My father-in-law was a man of a few words, but he tried to ease my nerves. My husband also showed me pictures from his childhood to ease my nerves. My mother-in-law was cheerful and true to herself. I don't know why you were so nervous about. I'm not against you getting married. We are going to be a family. She patted me on the back and said with a laugh. Hearing my mother-in-law's words, my nerves instantly relaxed. I'll teach you how to take care of the house, and I'll be strict with you. Mom, Hazel can do everything well without your teaching her. She doesn't need your help. My husband laughed and defended me. My mother-in-law heard what he said. I'm just joking. She laughed. My in-laws live far away, but we'll have a good relationship. That's what I thought. At the wedding, many of our friends celebrated with us. I was so happy that I cried all the time. For the first few years of our marriage, we were really in love. I was looking forward to my husband to coming home after work every day. I would get so much done because I knew the delicious dinner would be waiting for me. My husband's job required a lot of overtime. But no matter how late he comes home, he always eats my dinner. And he always raves about my cooking. And I just want him to praise me more. In my spare time, I look at recipe websites and more dishes to my repertoire. During New Year's, I visited my parents-in-law's house with my husband. My mother-in-law always teaches me how to cook. You should buy an instant pot. Try this meat. It's so tender, isn't it? Sometimes she was kind, of course, but more often she was stern. What are you doing? Well, then you are wasting your time. You need to be smart about what you're doing. I used to cook only for my husband, and I didn't have the skills to cook for other people. I was often told strictly, and it was a learning experience for me. My in-laws are not bad people. I think I was able to live peacefully. But maybe you are happy with just the two of you now. You should have kids soon. The only time I was hurt was when my mother-in-law told me about children. It's not that we don't want to have children. Of course, we want to have a child, but it's not that easy. My husband and I talked about it and decided not to have fertility treatment. It was maybe our fault for not talking to my mother-in-law about it. But every time we saw her, she would mention the child to our faces. Hey, Mom, we have our own timing. When my husband was around, he was quick to cover for me. When he wasn't, I just had to force a smile. A few times a year, my parents-in-law would come to visit and stay at our house. I didn't want my mother-in-law to say anything. So, when my in-laws come to visit, I clean the house from top to bottom. On the days when we eat home, I made more elaborate dishes than usual. I was so well prepared. She never said anything about the house. But she would still say something about the children. Each time, my husband defended me. Then time passed, and we were married for 5 years. Unlike when we first got married, we are no longer lovers. But that doesn't mean I don't love him anymore. He's still important to me. And we just have become family. I'm sure he's probably the same way. However, no matter how late he comes home, he always eats my cooking. We never had children, but I think we had a good relationship. I thought that no matter how old we get, we will live together with the same sense of distance. My relationship with my in-laws has not changed, and we still see each other a few times a year. The only thing that has changed is that I can talk back to my mother-in-law a little bit now. My mother-in-law is always talking to me about children. You know, what can't be done, can't be done. I can now say it in a joking way. My mother-in-law doesn't get angry at me for that. I know that, but I can't help saying it. I'm sorry. She started to laugh with me. Then one day, I received a call on my phone from an unknown number. Hello? Is this Aiden's wife? Your husband has been in an accident and is in the hospital. Please come to the hospital right now. I was so surprised that I couldn't catch up with what was going on. I
I immediately took a cab to the hospital. Coincidentally, my parents-in-law were visiting us that week. So in the cab, I called my mother-in-law. "Mom, Aiden! It's Aiden!" "What? What's wrong, Gianna? Something happened to Aiden?" He had an accident and was taken to the hospital." I couldn't speak properly because I couldn't stop crying. But my mother-in-law understood immediately. She was on a sightseeing tour with my father-in-law, but they agreed to come to the hospital right away. When I arrived at the hospital, my husband was in surgery. He was driving his car when he was hit from behind. The other car was driving very fast. He was hit hard. The hospital explained that he was unconscious and in critical condition. I broke down in tears, but my mother-in-law said, "I'm sure Aiden will be fine. We just have to wait and believe in him." I was sorry that my parents-in-law were worried about me, even though it must have been hard for them too. It took a long time, but the surgery was a success and my husband survived. My parents-in-law and I cried in relief. After that, my husband's consciousness didn't come back easily. I took turns with my parents-in-law to make sure that he would wake up at any time. While my in-laws were left in church, I was busy dealing with the accident and other formalities. As far as the police told me, my husband was the victim of the accident. The other party was arrested for dangerous driving. However, the person tested that my husband was also at fault. I wanted to protect my husband. So I went to the location where the accident happened. The car was so damaged. I thought the drive recorder might have been destroyed. But miraculously, it was safe. I took the SD card and checked it with my laptop, and the footage was still there. After that, I headed to the hospital to switch places with my mother-in-law. I was almost at the hospital when I got a call from my mother-in-law. "Hey, Gianna! Aiden has regained consciousness." She sounded so happy. I rushed to the hospital. "Thank goodness! Aiden, you're awake." When I arrived at the hospital, I heard my mother-in-law's voice. My husband was able to talk as if he had been just sleeping. "Oh, I was in an accident. I don't remember." When I heard he was awake, his doctor came to check on him, and we all talked to him. My father-in-law also came to the hospital with my mother. His doctor said that the surgery was a success, but he didn't know if we would be able to walk again. He said he would be in a wheelchair for a while and would do the physical therapy, but they can't promise that he will be able to walk again. The atmosphere in the room was heavy, as if it was a different place than when my husband woke up. "Why? I can't walk?" After his doctor left, my husband mumbled to himself. My mother-in-law said to cheer him up. "We will help you as much as we can. Let's do our best in physical therapy so you can walk again. Right, Gianna?" Instead of agreeing with her, I said, "No, I'm leaving him. I want a divorce." Everyone there was surprised at my unexpected answer. "Huh? What are you talking about? In a situation like this, I'll never allow you to divorce my son. You heartless woman." My mother-in-law yelled at me. My husband continued. "Yeah, Mom's right. I can't even walk. How dare you?" My father-in-law was too shocked to say anything. Then, I took my laptop out of my bag and showed them a video. "What if someone finds out already?" "It's okay. We're on break. No one from the office is going to come around here." "Your wife could be watching." There is my husband and a young woman. The video showing of them talking to each other and making out. She was wearing the uniform of the company where my husband worked. From the conversation, it was clear that he had been having an affair with this woman.
What the hell is this?
When my father-in-law asked in surprise,
No. It was just a fling. There's nothing between me and this woman.
my husband was too nervous to explain himself. My mother-in-law seemed to be at a loss for words, perhaps because she was so surprised. I kept quiet and played the next video.
I'm not doing well with my wife. I'm getting divorced soon. So, let's get married.
Really? Will you marry me? My husband and the woman were talking to each other, giggling.
How disgusting. What are you doing, Aiden?
My father-in-law, who was always so calm, turned into an angry man. My husband was lying on his face.
Aiden, you shouldn't cheat on your wife. Apologize to Gianna. And Gianna, forgive him, okay? Aiden's body is like this now. He can't cheat on you anymore.
The mother-in-law, who had kept quiet until a few minutes ago, became impatient and started defending her son.
Well, I want you to watch something else. And then I played another video.
There was my mother-in-law and my husband.
I want to see my grandchildren's face, you know? Mom, don't tell Dad, but I'm thinking of getting a divorce and remarrying. The next one will be young, so you'll be able to see your grandchild soon.
Oh yeah?
That's great.
But if you cheat on your wife, she'll take all the money.
Don't worry, I'm making sure she never finds out. As long as I come home and eat, that's all that matters to Gianna. She's happy as long as I eat her cooking. She doesn't seem suspicious at all. I'll pay it smart. Don't worry. You're so smart. I can't wait to see my grandchildren.
My grandmother knew that my husband was cheating on me, and she agreed he would divorce me so she could see her grandchild's face.
This is disgusting. How dare you two talk like this? I don't want this kind of wife or son.
My father-in-law's face turned red and he got super angry. My mother-in-law and my husband are looking impatient, as if they don't know what to do.
Which one of us is the heartless one? I'll divorce you, for sure. Why should I help you after all you have done?
Please, be happy with your young lover.
Goodbye. Wait. Gianna.
Ignoring my husband's voice, I left the hospital room. My father-in-law followed me.
Gianna, I am so sorry.
He bowed deeply. It's not your fault. Thank you for everything. Please tell him that my lawyer will be in touch with him. As I walked out the hospital, the tears that I had been holding back began to flow. I wondered how long I had been deceived. I don't know. But now that I know, I was glad that I could leave him. The divorce went through without a hitch. I got a lot of alimony. And of course, the other woman he was cheating on me with, the lawyer told me that she was a receptionist at Aiden's company. I was surprised to hear that she was just turned 20. They used to meet on their lunch break at a place a few blocks away from the office, and then go back to the office separately. The accident happened while my ex-husband was returning to his office alone. I was a little skeptical as to why he had an accident in his car while he was at work. But after hearing his story, it made sense. My lawyer told me that sometimes she and my ex-husband would take half a day off to visit his lover's house. He was being very thorough so that I wouldn't find out.
I don't think my husband thought it would come out this way. And because the affair had become a rumor within the company, I heard that he had to quit his job. And the woman he had an affair with had to quit the company as well. She was young and had no savings, and had to borrow money to pay the alimony. At the same time, we divorced. My parents-in-law divorced. My father-in-law couldn't forgive my mother-in-law either. I was surprised when I heard from my father-in-law about the news. My mother-in-law rented a small apartment and are living together after my ex-husband gets out of the hospital. She couldn't afford to rent a handicap-accessible house because they had no money after paying the alimony. My ex-husband's working on physical therapy, but the chance of him being able to walk again is very small. The young lover left my ex-husband when she figured out he may never walk again. I have been living alone for a while now, but it's the first time in quite a while. I am studying to be a certified public accountant. If I get certified, I may be able to get a permanent job through a friend's introduction. I am looking forward to the new chapter of my life, and I will make sure I will enjoy every minute of it. What? Me? I was so surprised, I couldn't help but speak up. We think it's for the best.
Yeah, we talked it over.
My parents-in-law's words made me overwhelmed. I wondered if it was right to entrust such an important matter to me. What I felt at first was more confusion than joy. My name is Gianna, and I am an ordinary office worker at a small business. While I was working hard, I quickly passed the age of 30. It's not that I don't have marriage in mind. In fact, I have a boyfriend named Owen. But there is a reason why I can't get married even after 3 years of dating. It's because Owen's father. He is a manager of a first-class hotel. Owen majored in economics at university and is currently studying hard to succeed his father. If I marry him, I will support him at a top hotel in a country. I was born into an average family, and I don't know much about management outside of my job. Would I be able to support my future husband as a manager? To be honest, I didn't have the confidence to go that far. It was the first time in a while that I had a paid day off, and I was having dinner with Owen.
You know, it's time to start preparing for the future.
Owen looked a little nervous, and he spoke to me.
I turned to him and froze. I know what you mean. I know what you're thinking about. You're feeling pressure because I'm going to be the manager in the future, right?
I nodded my head to his words.
It's not that I want you to do anything. I'm studying at my father's place so that I don't bother you.
But I still had something hazy in my mind. But I was born into an ordinary family, and I don't know if I'll fit in with Owen's parents.
Then don't worry. My parents are nothing like the celebrities you see on TV. Rather, they told me to have a good sense of money. When I was in elementary school, I didn't get any allowance.
Owen laughed and took a sip of water. I hope that's really true, but I'm not sure if someone like me would fit in.
Then, how about you come to my hotel as a guest?
What do you mean? Owen began to explain carefully.
There's a cafe on the first floor at our hotel. I'll bring my parents downstairs when the time is right. Then you know what they're like.
Is that really okay? Isn't it too much for you? Owen nodded his head and smiled.
If I can marry you, Gianna, this is nothing.
Hearing that, I felt my ears turn red. On the day of my appointment with Owen, I prepared a nice dress and a purse and headed for the hotel entrance.
Welcome to our hotel.
I bowed awkwardly to the porter's elegant greeting. Owen told me that some guests are there just for dinner, but Owen said it's fine to dress lightly. I didn't do anything wrong, but my heart is pounding so loudly. I can almost hear it myself. Just looking at the decorations in the lobby, I naturally feel more nervous. I asked the waiter for a cup of coffee and waited for them. While I was a little surprised and distracted by the price of the coffee, I heard a familiar voice.
Well, I'll give this apology gift to the customer later.
I moved my head to look at the front desk. I saw Owen talking with a staff member in a suit. His face looked more dependable than usual. He's probably giving them instructions. I can't interfere with his work. I can only imagine what he's doing. I couldn't help but smile when I saw Owen's work. After the staff went away for a while, an elderly couple came to Owen.
How'd it go?
Yeah, I just got the call.
They said everything's fine. Thank God. He's been a regular customer for over 10 years.
I recognized his parents from a distance. His parents are more gentle-looking and soft-spoken than I expected. I hope it's the same with me. I secretly texted Owen to let him know I was leaving soon and thanked him for making this day possible. They weren't as strict as I thought they would be, and I felt a great weight lifted off my shoulders. Well, I'll be myself in front of his parents. I don't have any special skills, but if that doesn't work out, that's just the end of the story. After several discussions with Owen, we decided on a date to meet his parents. Owen's father is very busy, so we are going to visit him at his work. Owen's mother seems to be looking forward to it. She was worried that her son might not be thinking about getting married. Hello, welcome, Gianna. She made me feel more welcome than I expected. I'm still a little nervous. How do you do? I greeted her timidly. His father patted Owen on the shoulder with a smile.
I'm so relieved to see you have a good partner in your life.
Owen scratched his head, embarrassed but happy.
Well, Mom, Dad, I'm going to marry Gianna.
Those words made me more nervous. I wonder how his parents will react. I felt their eyes on me and looked up. They were smiling and nodding their heads. We're so happy to have such a lovely girl.
Now we can all rest easy. Haha.
They looked at each other happily. I had not expected such a welcome, so I was relieved. And at the same time, thankful that I was blessed with in-laws. My father-in-law is a kind man, and my mother-in-law has a certain elegance about her. But she treats me as if I were her own daughter. I talked to her a little bit, and she told me that she really wanted a daughter. I never thought I would have a daughter of my own. Thank you for joining our family. Yes, I'm so excited to join the family. I was so happy to hear her words that I unintentionally replied cheerfully. The wedding preparation proceeded at a brisk pace once they started. Of course, the wedding was to be held at Owen's parents' hotel. With the help of the hotel, the date and plans were decided in no time at all. My in-laws were so happy with the wedding that they decided on a very luxurious plan. I don't know the exact price because all the expenses were paid by my parents-in-law. But even I could understand at a glance that it was a very prestigious and luxurious wedding. My parents were literally rolling their eyes at the thought of me marrying the son of a distinguished family. They were relieved when I told them that I had been welcomed by his parents. They seemed to like Owen's good-natured personality. By the time he left, The mood was completely festive. I quit the company I was working for when I got married, and I started working for my father-in-law's hotel. At first, my in-laws didn't want me to take this job, just because they were concerned about me. Gianna, we are not trying to force you to work here, you know?
Yeah, whether you can keep your job or not, my son wouldn't make you feel poor.
They told me that. But when I saw what was going on at the hotel through my husband's work, I wanted to be involved. And as a wife, I wanted to support my husband. The management of the hotel was difficult, but I did my own research and studied steadily by getting help from my husband and my parents-in-law. My husband was doing his best at his job, and my father-in-law said it was okay for him to take a step back. Then, my father-in-law was hospitalized after a cold got worse, so my husband became the manager. My father-in-law's health is gradually getting better, and Owen is taking over the hotel's know-how, so we don't have to worry about him. I'm sure you were just tired because you are a workaholic.
That's probably true. I think about work all the time.
Leave the hotel business to Owen. Please take a good rest. My parents-in-law and I had no doubt that my husband would take care of the hotel. But this was the root cause of everything coming after. For me, it was the beginning of a nightmare. Owen, who at first seemed to be doing his job as usual, 2 months after he took over as manager, little by little, he started to change.
How many times have I told you? Don't bring troubles to me. You stupid son of a bitch. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Get out of my sight.
I was at my father-in-law's hospital instead of my busy husband, and I rushed over to him. Hey, this is the lobby. You don't have to yell at him here.
What? I'm the one in charge here. Don't interrupt.
I was confused by the change in my husband and turned my head down. And I went down the hallway. I looked back and sighed of what I saw. When my father-in-law was a manager, the hotel had a certain elegance. It used to be a naturally relaxing hotel, but I'm not so sure anymore. Every few minutes, angry shouts echo through the halls, and the guests seem to be cramped. I'm sure my father-in-law would be sad to see this. My mother-in-law doesn't seem to approve of his ways either, though she was a bit hard on him from time to time. He's adamant that he is the manager and won't change his ways. I've seen my husband be faithful and humble, but I wonder if this is my husband's true nature. With my father-in-law's absence and himself on top, I thought my husband had changed completely. It seems that a decent manager has a great influence. The number of customers who used to come when my father-in-law was in charge has gradually decreased. And my husband has been going somewhere these days because he has free time. Of course, it's not to visit his father in the hospital. He's probably going somewhere for fun. But from there, people began to say they couldn't stand Owen's way. Many staff members resigned, including veteran executives who had been with the hotel since my father's time. Now, in addition to poor management, the hotel is facing the difficult problem of a shortage of employees. But instead of changing his attitude, Owen stopped coming to the hotel to escape from reality. I had to fill in for the missing employees. I worked as a waiter and did various other chores to to make up for the shortage of employees. Thank you, sir. Please let me know if there is anything I can do. My service skills seem to be well received. I never thought my experience as a part-time worker in a cafe during my school days would come in handy. My mother-in-law was mainly running the business, making up for the lack of staff, just like me. I bet my husband would collapse if he saw us like this. All I could do was force a laugh at her sigh. I'm sorry I dragged you into this too, Gianna. I didn't mean to make you work like this. No, if I can be of any help, I'll do my best. It's not her or my father-in-law's fault. It's my husband, who's completely lost his mind. My husband began to repeatedly go out at night, knowing that his parents were doing all the chores. I, on the other hand, was trying to rebuild the hotel in cooperation with my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, who was getting back on track. I did everything from management to customer service. Thanks to that, the number of customers started to come back little by little. Some of the employees came back after my father-in-law told them about the situation. Little by little, the hotel's business situation returned to the way it was before. I noticed that the hotel became more profitable than before. I came up with some new ideas. In the course of my involvement in management, I started to organize events to target new customers. I came up with a number of family-oriented services. My mother-in-law said to me, I'm sure it was all thanks to Gianna's ideas. I would smile and cover it up because I was embarrassed. I was relieved to see her happy face. When the business was going down, I was worried that the hotel would go bankrupt. Especially my mother-in-law. Perhaps because of the stress she was under, she had lost weight. Even then, my husband was escaping in reality and playing around. It was only natural that my father-in-law would be furious. It was a mistake to let him take over the business, he said angrily. But whatever the situation, we've been through a great ordeal. I felt a stronger bond with my in-laws than I had when we were first married. They're not just my husband's parents. They are like my real parents to me. After my husband abandoned his job, his father became the manager of the hotel again. I thought that was going to be the case for a while. But things have progressed in ways I never expected. A short time later, my husband came back to the hotel with an indifferent look on his face. What's the matter? I ran up to him, looked next to him, and stopped. There was a young woman standing next to him, dressed in a fancy dress. I was strongly convinced that the reason he hadn't come home for a while was that there was a woman. My husband looked at me working in the lobby and said, "Why are you here?" At the moment, he rolled his eyes. I remembered all the hardships I had gone through since my husband left, and I was filled with anger. It's all because of you, isn't it? I almost said it, but I swallowed it down. I was just running an errand. My husband still looked at me quizzically as I replied, "You can only do a few chores, can't you?" He still couldn't understand what I was doing, and he was acting like the tyrant he'd been before. Well, now that the manager of this place has returned, from now on, you must obey my orders, he told me in an unknowing manner. His lover leaned on my husband's arm. Oh my gosh, you're so cool, Owen. I'm not even jealous anymore. My husband feels good about it. The hotel looks better than before, and the number of guests is increasing. Ha! I guess it's the result of my training as a manager. He said something out of line and smiled confidently. It was obvious that he wanted to look good for his lover. Hearing the commotion, my parents-in-law came to see us. My husband looked proud.
Great! Mom, Dad, I've got something to tell you.
And pulled the woman next to him toward him.
Gianna, I want a divorce.
What? I raised my eyebrows. When he finally came home, he suddenly asked for a divorce. I was so dumbfounded to say anything. Then a woman next to him started talking. Yes, Owen is no longer interested in an old lady like you. And Owen is the manager of this hotel. I always wanted to be that kind of missus. The woman giggled and laughed ungracefully. I couldn't help but laugh when I saw them like that.
What's so funny?
My husband stared at me upset.
Don't tell me you are not divorcing me. I'm going to divorce you even if I have to hire a lawyer.
Fine. If you want a divorce, I'll give you a divorce. Then he looked at me with a blank stare.
Then, why are you smiling?
He didn't seem to understand my attitude, so he attacked me. Then I decided to explain the whole situation to him. I don't mind divorcing you, but you're not the manager anymore. When he heard this, he froze. The woman next to him, what do you mean? She looked up at him and asked him what I meant. When he came to himself, he was trembling with anger.
Don't talk nonsense. My father gave me the manager's position.
I wonder who was running the hotel into the ground and running away from reality. At these words, my husband's momentum weakened. And then my in-laws came in right away. That's right. While you were playing around, Gianna was working very hard.
So what? I'm the manager anyway. That's why I appointed Gianna as a new manager.
What? Hearing this, my husband's face turned pale. That woman next to him also turned pale and asked him, Hey, what does it mean? You said you were the manager.
I don't get this. Why?
As if to stop them from arguing, my father-in-law clears his throat.
Gianna was the one who turned the hotel around after it was on the rocks for a while. You, Owen, who ruined the hotel, and Gianna who restored it. It's obvious who's more qualified to be the manager, isn't it?
But it's... And then my mother-in-law, who couldn't contain her anger, joined in. The only thing you were worth is that you brought Gianna here. My husband gritted his teeth in frustration. His partner looks at my husband anxiously. My in-laws valued my management skills and new ideas. I'd been appointed manager in my husband's absence.
I was supposed to be the boss.
That's when my father-in-law interrupted.
You were on a probationary period. It wasn't long after that I fell ill, so it wasn't even formalized.
What?
No way.
My husband was stunned. I think he's finally starting to understand the situation he's put himself in.
That's why I am transferring all the rights to this hotel to Gianna. You were pretty a stranger before your own son?
My husband started shouting, pointing at me and making a fuss. My mother-in-law stopped him with a snap.
Don't be rude to Gianna. Even if you divorce her, she is still our daughter. Even if you're related us by blood, she is much more reliable than an irresponsible son like you.
My husband was completely taken aback by his mother's words. The next thing I know, his partner is making a fuss. What do you mean? I was going to leave my husband and get married to you. Because you said you were the manager.
But my husband didn't want to argue anymore.
Let's just not make a scene here. Please, leave now. The affair partner also heard my words and fell silent. After that, my husband came to me trying to get back together with me. Of course, I have no intention to starting over with him. My husband was severely scolded by his father, and after filling out the divorce papers, he was cut tie from his parents. As for my ex-husband's affair partner, her husband found out about the affair and was demanding alimony. She doesn't seem too interested in my ex-husband anymore, who has now lost his family and his position as a manager. She accuses him of making a fuss about fraud. They are always fighting. On the contrary, our hotel is doing well today. It's recently featured in a magazine as a hotel with good service. Almost all the rooms are occupied, even on weekdays. I'm going to continue to work hard with people at this hotel. They are my family.